Hey there, superstars. I had so much fun this week at the Live Your Best Life Despite All the Douchebags boot camp. No BS boundaries are for you if you are done putting your needs aside and working your butt off to build a happy life that never seems to come. They are for you if you are pissed that the happily ever after that Disney promised us is a lie because we did all of the things that we were supposed to do. And instead of like bliss, we end up feeling exhausted and depleted and hopeless that we're ever going to be able to find balance before we retire. And this is my favorite one, the most important one. No BS boundaries are for you if you want to make generational change and get rid of the idea that you need to sacrifice yourself to show someone that you love them. And we're going to exchange that idea for the belief that taking care of you, of yourself, and filling your own cup is the best way to show someone you love them because it means you're now going to be able to show up for them as your best self. It is not selfish, it is loving to care for yourself. And so today I'm going to share the biggest mistakes that people make when trying to achieve life balance because that's what setting boundaries is all about, right? Like, we're just trying to figure out how to get a life that feels like it's not intruding on who we actually are. And so we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes and what to do to fix them. And at the end, I'm going to share how you can get some help implementing all that into your personal situation. So if I haven't met you yet, hello, I'm Christina, and I burned myself out in 2017 trying to keep up with life as a working mom. And so now I'm a burnout coach, helping people achieve the B word, which is balance, in a world that seems to want us to be able to do more with less all of the time. And I became a burnout coach because it really stank to flop around trying everything under the sun to get back on my feet after burnout. And at that time, I was feeling like a total failure, having hit burnout and feeling like, I had failed, like I had let people down, like I couldn't cut it. And I desperately wanted to be fine again, whatever fine means. And so I tried all the things, all the therapy, all the books, all the courses, and I slowly got better. And I was slowly able to function again. But the key word here is slowly. But, I made it out. But then I started getting calls from people who are also burning out. And they were asking me, how did you do that? How did you get yourself out of that dark place? And so I walked them through the steps that helped me. And I realized that this is a huge gap in the burnout world. And I'm a course designer in my day job. So I created what was missing, a step-by-step process to help people move from a life of overwhelm into a life where they can feel calm and peaceful even when they're super busy. And the secret, the exact way to do that is to connect with your true self or like find yourself, like people talk about. And I've developed a tangible strategy to help you do that. Yeah, like an actual path to get to your true self. That's cool, right? So now I have 4 kids, a full-time job, and 2 side businesses, and I am happier than I have ever been. And it is my absolute joy and privilege to share these life-changing strategies with you. And so one of these strategies was the topic of the week, boundaries that actually work for busy parents. So if boundaries are to help us feel less overwhelmed, stressed out, and anxious, the first thing we need to talk about is why we feel stressed out, overwhelmed, and anxious in the first place. What is the culprit that is keeping us way too busy? It's not all the things. It's not our to-do list. It's not our kids. It's programming. We're a social species, and our mind creates programs for us on how to fit in and to be liked and accepted and included and loved. Because being part of a pack means safety to our mind. And so these programs tell us what we need to look like and act like and be like in order to be lovable. And so we change how we show up based on these programs. And as adults, we try to act professional and like we have it all together because our programs tell us that this is going to elevate our status in the group. So think for a minute about what it means to be a good mom. Okay. Like most of us feel like we need to be patient and loving all of the time. We need to solve our kids' problems, organize their activities, keep them stimulated, but not overstimulated, right? Our kids need to like eat a certain way and behave a certain way in order for us to be considered a good mom. Like we can't control how they eat or how they behave, but we still feel like it reflects on us. And we need to look a certain way too, like both physically and mentally, like never as frazzled on the outside as we feel on the inside. And our house needs to look a certain way. And we need to lovingly tuck our kids into bed every night, even if we have to do it 100 times every single night because they keep getting out of bed. And read books and sing songs and create activities and cool parties and monitor their social life and their um, activities online and magically know how to manage their behavior at all times. Okay. And so the mom hat or the parent hat is just one of the hats that we wear in our daily lives, right? We also have programs around being a good worker and colleague and friend and daughter and sister, or replace with whatever gender identity you identify with, okay? The point is that we're constantly trying to live up to these standards that our programs have created for us. And to keep us on track, our mind shouts BS at us, telling us how we are not doing good enough and we need to work harder and we are failing, right? So because of this, three things happen. Thing number one is that we start hiding or leaving behind parts of ourselves that don't measure up in order to present a more acceptable version of ourselves. And so after years of presenting yourself this way, it's hard to know how much of the person that you present to the world is the real you and how much is the programmed version of you. And so this keeps us stuck because we don't know what lights us up anymore. And it makes it hard to have authentic relationships because we're essentially pretending to be someone else. All right. Number two is that we're constantly trying to keep up with these programs and do the right thing, whatever the right thing is, right? That keeps us lovable and worthy. And it's hard because these programs are often conflicting. Like when your kid is sick, do you run the good mom program and tend to them, or the good worker program and send them to daycare anyways? Oh, it's so hard. Trying to keep up with these programs is the real reason that we can't find balance and that we are burning out. And so this keeps us stuck because we're always feeling like we need to do better and be better in order to be safe, which puts our nervous system on overdrive and leaves us exhausted and defeated. All right. Way number three that this shows up is that our program self becomes disconnected from our true self, right? It's like we move away from our true self to show the world a better version, what our mind thinks is a better and more lovable version of ourselves. But this creates an internal conflict because our true self is trying to steer us in one direction and our programmed self in another direction. So, like, for example, there might be a part of you saying, I should stay late at work and finish this thing that's due tomorrow. And another part saying, but no, you're going to disappoint your kids if you're not there for dinner. And another part of you just wanting to hide under your desk and not think about work or kids. So you are pulled in all of these different directions, and that is exhausting. And that keeps us stuck because it creates confusion and makes it hard to make decisions. So when it comes to setting boundaries, we end up in this pattern where we set a boundary, people trample all over it, we feel defeated, then eventually rise up again, set another boundary, but then people trample over it again, and the boundary yo-yo cycle continues, okay? So we want to fix that. We want to fix that with our no BS boundaries that get rid of all of that BS and start to focus on the things that actually are going to bring us towards our true self. So the two biggest mistakes that are keeping us stuck in these patterns of being way too busy and unable to set boundaries with others or ourselves, okay, is what we're going to talk about next. So boundary mistake number one, not addressing your old programming. Have you ever been to a boundary class that actually addressed your old programming? That is so critical because your mind wants to keep running your programs, keep fitting in, and setting boundaries goes against all of those programs because people who want to fit in are compliant and they don't make waves, right? And that's what your mind wants you to do. It wants you to be compliant and not make waves if those are what your programs are. And that's why we shrink back when someone tramples all over our boundaries and why we feel guilty for even setting them in the first place. And so if we think of our programs like football plays that we're supposed to be running, and then like we have this football coach yelling at us to keep us running those plays, sometimes our coach sounds like, hey, stupid, you suck, go the other way. The coach is your mind BS, right? This is why we need no BS boundaries. We do not need a coach in there telling us how much we suck if we are trying to set boundaries. All right, boundary mistake number 2, not being clear on your values. Because we have lived as our program self for most of our lives, and most of us aren't even really sure what matters to us. Maybe we think that we know. Like most of us could say, oh yeah, I know what my values are, but it's usually like surface level, and it can be really hard to distinguish between values and programs. Like, are you being kind because it's who you are or who you think you should be? And so if you want an example of getting clear on your values, go and watch the replay of day 3 of the boot camp, okay? So it's only by systematically uncovering your old programs that we can start bringing these programs to light because they're mostly subconscious. And then we can start deciding which ones are serving us and which ones are getting in the way of our happiness. And then we become aware of them. And when we're aware of them, we can better see how they're getting in the way of our boundaries and our happiness. And once we've done that, we can tap into our true selves and uncover what truly matters to us as individuals. And then we can stop letting our programs run the show and we can take action that brings us closer and closer to our true selves. All right. So here's how we do it. We do this by creating choices and then empowering ourselves to choose the one that feels good and not the one that we think we should do. And it's so interesting because we tend to believe that we only have 2 choices, like say yes or say no, do this or do that, stand up for yourself or be a doormat. And that's not true. We have endless choices. And when we realize that, then we feel empowered to choose. We get to choose how we show up in every single moment of our lives. And that changes things. Because yeah, you could do what your programs tell you to do, which if yours are anything like mine, it's something, that my mind considers productive. Or you could do something else, like anything else. It's your life to live. You get to choose. And so that is my definition of boundaries, choosing in any moment where to put your energy. So let me give you an example. So my colleague was like super excited about a new project that she was starting at work. But then this, person of authority who is not her boss, but equivalent to her boss, like made some like terrible comments that left my colleague feeling like she wasn't qualified to do this project and that she was going to fail and that she was going to be a burden to the project team. Oh, and so we went for a walk together, her and I, and she was spinning. Like, she was in her mind, she was like, oh my God, should I even do this project? Am I terrible? Am I hard to work with? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I, take myself off of the project team? Spin, 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 right? And so now, if we think about it in terms of energy, she is spending her energy fretting and worrying and problem solving. And she could be spinning like that for the whole rest of the day. Right? That might derail her entire afternoon at work. She might go home and talk about this to her husband. She might like lie in bed still thinking about it and lose sleep over it. So now it's time to set a boundary. And this means that she can take back her power right? She can decide where she wants to put her energy. Does she want to put her energy into worrying and fretting? No, most of us don't. That's her programs telling her that she is not good enough. And that mind BS, that evil coach telling her that, she's doing it all wrong and she's not good enough and nobody wants to work with her. So we do not want our programs to be running the show. Okay. So what then? All right, I'm going to share my screen and show you exactly my no BS strategy for this. So what we are looking at here is actually the workbook for the No BS Boundary Bootcamp. So you have this ready for you, okay? So I have created a framework for setting boundaries in just such a situation, because I know you're thinking, okay, Christina, it's great that I don't want to put my energy into worrying and fretting, but how do I stop? How do I stop worrying and fretting? All right. So this no BS boundary framework is exactly for that. All right. And it's based on the acronym values. So let's start with V and figure out her values. So when I talked to her, I learned that she values learning opportunities. That's why she volunteered for this project in the first place. And she values collaboration. She wants to have, a work environment where she gets diverse experiences that are going to help her grow in her role. Okay. So those are her values. That's what she's anchoring into. It's like learning opportunities and collaboration. Okay. And so A is the next step for aligned action. The aligned action for those values, if we think just about those values, it's going to be to go into the project with an open mind and be ready to learn and grow, right? And so that's what she was planning on doing. That's where she was. That's why she was so excited about this project in the first place. But then all of that mind BS got in the way. And so now, because she's got all of this mind BS making her worry and fret, we need to continue on with the framework and go to L to see what we need to let go of. And so she needs to let go of the fear of failure, right? Of being a burden, and the idea that her colleagues don't believe in her. Because you untangle the truth. What is the truth? The truth is that she is smart and she is determined and she will work hard on this project and be an asset to the team. And the truth is that she is a natural learner and she's going to be able to pick up whatever skills she needs. And as she goes through this, and that's the whole point of taking on this project, is to learn and grow and try something new. And the truth is that she's good at that and that it lights her up and that she's committed to doing so. And so those are the truths about her. But another truth is that the person who made her feel crappy does that to a lot of people. And it probably has nothing to do with my colleague at all or her ability to do the project, and more to do with that manager's own insecurities. And so the truth in that situation is that her opinion doesn't really matter. All right. So now we're at E. Where are you going to put your energy? And so she is now in a place where she's no longer spinning because she's walked herself through. So I guess that's a critical point, is that she has walked herself through this framework. I'm not telling her what the truths are or what she needs to let go of. She's figuring that out for herself. Okay. So she's now in a place where she's no longer spinning and wasting her energy on fretting and worrying, because she has figured out all of these things. And so she's now going to put her energy, she's committed to putting her energy into the project and learning what she needs to do in order to be successful. All right, now E has two parts. So the first part is to put your energy into your aligned action, which is, in her case, doing the project with an open mind. And the second part is celebrating yourself, putting your energy into you, because you have made a conscious choice and a conscious shift toward the life that you want to live and towards your true self. And so I went through this super quickly because this is the quick and dirty version, right? But if you want a deeper explanation of this framework, this is what we did on day 3. We went through this in detail. So if you want to figure out how to apply it to your life, I did a full example on day 3. So go ahead and go watch the replay. So to recap, setting boundaries is not about writing out what you will or will not tolerate. Okay? It's about making a choice in any given moment where to put your energy. So you get to choose, you get to flow. You get to figure out in each moment where to put your energy. And it could look different in every single moment. That's fine. You get to choose. But this only works if you are able to get past your old programs and all of the mind BS and tap into your values so that your boundaries are anchored in something deeper. And this gives you that sense of purpose that makes your aligned action move you away from your programmed self and closer to your true self, because it's anchored in what your true self actually cares about. And so it's shedding these programs and getting back to your true self that's going to alleviate this feeling of overwhelm and anxiety and burnout that can have serious health consequences for you. I cannot overstate that. Burnout is just the tip of the iceberg. And so living your life in alignment with who you are at your core leads to a sense of peace and purpose and ultimately fulfillment, because you know what lights you up and what you truly care about. And you're no longer pulled in all of these directions. And like your different programs are no longer trying to tear you apart. And you don't have this mind BS screaming at you that you are a failure and not good enough. And so I have an image here in your workbook as well about that. And it's so cool because this has like huge effects on your life. Like even your relationship with your kids deepens because you're not burdened by all of these programs telling you who you need to be and who they need to be in order to be good enough. And so that makes you comfortable in your own skin, and it changes your whole life. And the best thing of all is that your happiness skyrockets, because being you without all of the weight of expectations is so freeing. And I was told be yourself so many times in my life, in my programmed life, and I had no idea what they meant. I had no idea what be myself meant, who I was. I could not figure it out. And so that's why I have created this process to move from your programmed self to your true self. And in doing so, you give your kids the gift of a happy parent and the gift of like unburdening them from taking on your programs and carrying them into adulthood, because that's what we do, right? Our anxieties create anxieties in our kids. So this is what I do. I help people find themselves, shed their programs, and reconnect with their true selves so that they can live the life that they were always meant to live. And this process takes about 6 months if you dedicate half an hour a week. That's 1 lunch break per week, and your whole life has changed. And if you want a faster version, you could do 2 lunch breaks a week, and you'll get it done in 3 months. So actually moving from your programmed self to your true self only takes 5 steps. And that is in your workbook too. So step 1 is to uncover your old programming so that you can decide what to keep and what is no longer serving you. Step 2 is to uncover your true self by figuring out what truly matters to you so you know what you are working towards. Okay? Step 3 is to get to know yourself, tap into yourself, learn how to listen to all of that inner wisdom that you have there. And then once you know how to listen, that can guide you into your new life. Imagine being able to tap into that and making decisions that feel good to you over and over again. All right, so step 4, this is build your badass mindset. This is the part where we take action. And this is where your boundaries come in. So each time you decide where to put your energy with your values and your inner wisdom guiding you, you get yourself closer to your true self. And that is your badass mindset, taking action guided by values and inner wisdom. And Step 5 is to get comfortable being you. Get settled as the new you, because there's nothing that your mind likes more than like sliding back into old patterns. But we're not going to let that happen. No thanks. We worked too hard for that. So we are going to dedicate some time to getting comfortable in your new normal. All right. So I would love to chat with you to see where you are at with all of this, what programs are getting in your way, and what actions you can take right now to move yourself towards your best life. Like, it's great to hear an example of somebody else's life, but how would this actually look in your life? I would love to work through an example with you, something that you might be struggling with. And as an added bonus, I'm giving away a full scholarship to the Bridge to Your Best Life program. That's the 5-step process that I just went through, to one lucky person who books a call with me this week. And so you can find a link to the book a call on your dashboard. I'll also drop the link in the comments below, and you can learn more about the program if you want to at mindbs.ca/best life. Okay. But book a call with me. It's free. You have a chance to win, and let's get this implemented into your life right now. All right, so this was a recap of the No BS Boundary Bootcamp. Book a call with me if you have any questions, or if you want to brainstorm how to apply these concepts to your personal situation. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Are you ready for your happily ever after? Visit mindbs.ca/best life to learn how you can get started today.